We'll get started with some of the housekeeping things. So, folks who are online, feel free to just kind of interrupt me as we go, as though you were in the room. So if you have a question, just, speak up. I'm not going to yell at anybody. You can also, if you're more comfortable, you can put it in the chat. I will try to watch that for the little bubble as well. And just look out for that. Since we are recording, I will send out a link after. So if you forget anything, I will also be sending out the slides. So that way, that way, if anything is linked in this presentation, you will have the link to that item, so that you can just have that in the future. And people in the room, we grab a copy of the. We grab a pen and then we're like, ooh, yeah. So this is just one of the examples of the SBA startup cost sheet. People online, it'll be linked in the presentation that I will send out afterwards.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I live in South County, St. Louis, South County, and I noticed Kirkwood is separate from the other libraries. And so what would I have to do to get a library card for Kirkwood Public Library?
Yeah, so we have reciprocal, which means that, like, if you live in St. Louis County or St. Louis City or St. Charles or Jefferson County, you can get a library card with us as well. And it's free. You don't have to pay anything. All you have to do is come into the library and bring your
driver's license.
Driver's license or whatever. If it doesn't have your current address on it, also bring a piece of mail, and then we can get you a card. And it's good for 2 years. Every 2 years they expire, but you can renew over the phone. Okay. So if none of the information changes, then you just say all good and renew it.
Yeah, because I took a SCORE class, and they were talking about library databases, and I mentioned Kirkwood Library, and the instructor said, well, Kirkwood has his own system, IBIS.
Yes.
So IBIS.
IBIS. So we'll talk about IBIS World.
Okay.
And for that one, you actually can't access it with your library card. So you would just email me, but we'll talk about that.
Okay. Okay. I'm getting ahead of the program.
You are.
Okay.
but totally fine. Yes, SCORE is a great partner. We love them. For those of you who don't know who SCORE is, they are a small business mentoring group here in the St. Louis area, and our group is pretty active. And yeah, they offer free mentoring to small businesses. So if you have questions about how to get started, or once you get going, you have questions about growing your business or marketing, they assign you a mentor who kind of knows some of the pain points you're having and work with you. So they're really great. But they also often assign you homework, like coming to the library and getting access to the databases. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So hopefully you are here for planning for your business by leveraging your library card. All right, so one of the big things that we're talking about today is how to fill in the gaps of your business plan. And why do you even need a business plan? Well, startups in the US are 2.5 times more likely to go into business if they have a written plan. So you may read, like, oh, you don't need a plan or whatever, but it's always a good idea to, even if you don't have a formalized plan, have something in writing where you know where you're going. Because it does mean that if you do that extra step of planning, you are more likely to actually go into your business. It also forces you to think through all the aspects of your startup. It highlights any potential problems. So you may be going through the business plan and filling out some of the information and realize, oh, I never thought about this piece of it before. Maybe that could be a problem down the road. You'll also be prepared for anything. So you will kind of see some of those speed bumps, and then you can come up with some future answers for that potential issue. It also helps you explain your concept. So one of the pieces of the business plan is going to be that executive summary. And this is going to be kind of like your 60-second pitch. And so it's going to become the place where you kind of have a little mini script of your executive summary where you can go to and say, this is exactly what my business is, and this is why you should talk to me. And also, there is plenty of help and library resources out here. So places like SCORE can help you with your business plan. The Small Business Development Center can help you with your business plan. There are so many resources here in St. Louis that can help you with your business plan. And then the library, we have a lot of different data that we can show you to fill in the gaps. So where do you start? I kind of always like to go over how to navigate library websites first, because every library does it differently. And I'm going to show you resources that are available at multiple of the library systems here in St. Louis. Because as I just kind of said before we started, that it is you can get different library cards here in the St. Louis region. So I have 4 library cards. I have a Kirkwood card, I have a city card, I have a county card, and I have a St. Charles card. I don't have a Jefferson County card yet, but someday maybe I'll take a trip and I'll go get one. Why? Because every single one of those libraries has a different piece of data that I want access to. And it just makes sense because I can get those for free and then I can have access to that data. Why wouldn't I do that for my business? So here at Kirkwood, this is what our library website looks like. So we have different names for things. Some libraries call it databases. Some libraries call it research. Some libraries call it digital resources. So that kind of gives you an idea of what you're looking for when you're going to a library website. Ours is under online resources and then research. On St. Louis Public Library, theirs is just called digital resources. And on St. Louis County, it is under just research. So when you are looking to access these databases or this data, this is where you go. And you always want to go, if it's offered through a library, you always want to go to the through the library's website first. Because if you try to go to the resources website, they're going to charge you. They're going to say, oh, you want access to this data? Pay for it. Whereas if you go through the library website, you're actually logging in with your library card number, and we've already paid for it. So it's saying, oh, okay, you're a member of this library. Now you have access to the data. When you are writing a business plan, there are a couple of resources that you can access. One is over here. It is called Business Link Business Plan Builder. And I stumbled upon this as a resource when I was looking for a replacement for an old resource that was no longer really kind of what I wanted in building a business plan. Business Link is out of Canada. I believe it's somewhat tied to Microsoft, but it's a third-party product. You can sign up with an email. And I have to tell you, I have never gotten an email from them since I've signed up. So they are not spamming me, which I am pro that. Is it slow? But it is an online business planning. There we go. tool that is free. And basically, once it slowly pops up here and populates, you will see that what it is asking you to do is fill out the different sections of a business plan, and it gives you prompts. So it asks you questions, so you can create multiple business plans. So you can see I have one already started. It gives you tips for the different sections. There's a how-to guide. It gives you, how to fill out the products and services section. It also gives you examples. This is particularly helpful when you get to the section on financials, because it'll give you examples of how you can write what your funding request is or what your startup costs are. So it kind of walks you through what to include. And you can see this isn't some crazy business plan that has spreadsheets attached to it or anything like that. This is very simple. You are just outlining your startup costs, that kind of thing. The other thing I really love about this resource is that down here, it says finish your plan, get your business plan reviewed. So that's kind of cool if you want to take that extra step. And have somebody look it over. You can also just give it to your friend. I highly recommend having someone else's set of eyes look it over, check for typos, that kind of thing, because if you are presenting it to a bank or somebody like that, you're going to want it to look its best. So this is a really great free resource that is just out there and available, and it makes your business plan a living document. Because the nice thing about this is it's always going to be saved on this website, and you can change it. As your business grows, you are going to want to update your business plan and change and tweak the different sections. So just something to keep in mind as you are getting started. If you are looking for mock-up business plans, you can find examples. Of course, we have examples in books here at the library, but also there's a tool called Gale Business Entrepreneurship. And I've outlined, so what you'll see in this whole presentation is along the way in parentheses are the libraries that have that tool. So St. Louis County Library has access to Gale Business Entrepreneurship, which has mock-up business plans that you can look at. And then Ferguson Public Library also has it. If you, with what we call the Municipal Library Consortium libraries, so Kirkwood, Ferguson, Valley Park, the ones that aren't part of the St. Louis County system, if you get a card with one of us, you can't get a card with the other one. So just keep that in mind. If you get a Ferguson card, you have to use your Ferguson card. You can't get a Kirkwood card. But in general, you can get all the other cards. You can get the county card and all of that. Also, the SBA has business plans and mock-up business plans. So if you go to their website, and I will get there, but there we go. All right, so here they have examples of what you should fill in. It's a whole website, but if you kind of scroll down to the bottom, the SBA has traditional business plan templates right here. So very fun, very cool. So you can see examples there. The SBA is the Small Business Administration there, the arm of the government that helps small businesses. They do a lot of funding and loans that are more reasonable maybe than some you might get other places. And they also fund the SBDC, is an arm of the Small Business Administration. So they are important, and they have examples for you if you need them. Along with this free business link account, if you become a client of the SBDC, the Small Business Development Centers, which is a totally no cost thing to become a client of theirs. So another place to look for a good free resource and free counseling. They have access to something called Live Plan. And that's here in St. Louis. And if you become a client of theirs, you have access to Live Plan as long as you are working with them. And so that's another place where you can kind of have access to a template for building your business plan. Okay, yeah, Crystal, go ahead.
Hi, thanks so much. This is great and been fantastic so far. I have children in the background, so they were making a little bit of noise. Could you please restate what you said about Live Plan? I missed the beginning of it.
Yeah, so the Small Business Development Center, SBDC, they are another free tool here in St. Louis. They hate when I use the term free, no cost tool here in St. Louis, that offers counseling, and they have access to Live Plan. So if you become a client of theirs, which is no cost to you, then they help you build out your business plan in Live Plan, and you have access to that as long as you are a client of theirs. And then if you're like, okay, I've hit my limit for what the SBDC can do to me, you get to take that business plan with you. You just don't have access to Live Plan anymore.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So what goes in a business plan? So you have your business overview section or your executive summary. This is where you get to describe your passion project and why you want to do it, and basically create your 60-second pitch for what your product is. A lot of experts will tell you to fill out the whole rest of your business plan and then come back and do the executive summary at the end. Because by then, you know everything else about your business that is planned out, and you can really formulate that kind of 60-second pitch. You also have the business description or the product service plan. So this describes your product and service and how it benefits your customers. So what are you selling? Are there services you won't provide? So think about that when you're filling out this section. Like if you are a cleaning company and you'll want to walk through and think about, okay, do I do industrial cleaning, or am I just doing houses, or am I doing, blood cleanup at labs or whatever? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just clean offices. I'm not doing residential. So really think through what services you're providing. Each feature should be described in terms of the benefit that the customer receives, or is a solution to your customer's needs. So basically you're thinking about what is the problem that I'm solving and what is the benefit that I'm providing with this service. This is also where you would put any plans for protecting intellectual property, government approvals that you might need, things like that. So we have quite a few resources at the library that provide help with things like legal questions. So Legal GPS is a really fun tool. It is basically gamified legal help when you are starting out. So basically it walks you through getting your business or nonprofit, either one, started, and looks for potential pitfalls that you might want to watch out for. So this is my Legal GPS. And I always forget that it doesn't like when I'm sharing. But basically it asks you questions that you might not have thought about when even registering your business. So in the first kind of section, it's going to say, hey, how do you even want to register your business? And you're like, I don't know. And then it walks you through questions and gives you tips on how to register your business. It's really great. It has some templates in here, but it also works really great in tandem with something like a Law Depot, which is a resource we have here at Kirkwood, or Yale Legal Forms, which is a resource that exists at St. Louis County Library. Both of those are legal template hubs. So if you need an NDA, if you need a product form or whatever you are working with, you can find those templates in here, and using Legal GPS will kind of walk you through if you need one of those. So, Law Depot. So the difference between Law Depot and Gale Legal Forms is that Law Depot is more customized legal form templates. So it is asking you particular questions about your business specifically. So you can say, I do want this, I don't want this, and then it creates a very personalized, customized template for you, which can be kind of overwhelming when you're starting out, especially if you're like, I just want a base template so I can see what it looks like. That's where Gale Legal Forms comes in. So this is Law Depot. It does have other legal templates in here besides business. So that's something to keep in mind if you need, you know, family or financial things, real estate, or just your business. So you can kind of flip through here if you're going to do a partnership, and basically it walks you through and asks you lots of questions. What industry are you going to be in? And then you can fill this out, and it's personalized. Gale Legal Forms, if you're like, I don't have time for that, I don't want to spend 15 minutes walking through and making a customized template, you can get access to Gale Legal Forms. These are very much just free templates that are available. So I know there's a lot of free templates out there in the internet world, but a lot of those you have to end up paying for once you get to the end. So don't pay for them. Come to the library, get a library card with St. Louis County, or get a Kirkwood library card and have access to Law Depot, and then you can pull up these different templates. And so you'll see that they also do much more than just business, but if you were forming an LLC, you can see they even have contracts in here, and they have things for when you start employees. I found like employee handbooks in here and things like that. And then you can just download the form that you want and start filling it out. Excuse me. You also have, oh, there we go. Went too far. You also have this marketing analysis and plan. That is where we're going to spend the largest portion of this presentation moving forward, because libraries have a ton of access to marketing data. Who is your customer? Who is your market? Who needs and wants your clothing designs? Who are your competitors? There are multiple databases, and so we'll talk about that next in a minute. You also have the management and organization plan section. So this is where you are ensuring your business will have the management expertise and that it needs to be a success. When you are starting a business, you're going to wear so many hats. So what makes you great at being the head of this company? Who would you need to hire more people? So are you going to have more people in this organization? And you would like to call out who those people are. Will you have a partner? Will you have an accountant? Make sure you highlight why you're the best person for this job, or the others on your team are the best people for this job. Think of it as a resume for your business. So this is where you're calling out why the people in your organization are the best at what they do. You will also have a financial plan. So describe your startup costs, sales and income projections, your cash requirements, your sources of financing, and your exit strategy. You may not think that you need an exit strategy, but you never know what life is going to hand you. You just don't. And so always kind of keep in mind, all right, if I have an advertising agency and I have all these clients, and then all of a sudden one day I need to close this business for whatever reason, what am I gonna do with those clients? Who am I gonna have? How am I gonna hand them off? What is gonna be that exit strategy for closing this business? Am I gonna sell the business? Just kind of think about those things. And then for your startup, this is the startup cost worksheet. So for those in the room, you have it in front of you. For those of you online, the link will be included on the slides. But this is the online version. It's so small. Here we go. Is really nice because you can actually fill in the costs. So you can say your budget and your actual. You can change some of these headings. So if you don't have rent starting out, you can take that out. But this just helps you plan your budget, and it'll show you your budget versus actual. And then, so the first side of this is your one-time expenses. So those are things that aren't necessarily going to reoccur over time. So you have in your rent, you have your security deposit, but then over here in your rent, you have your monthly rent under your monthly expenses. So think about any capital investments you're gonna have to make. So if you have to buy a computer when you start out, that's gonna go in your one-time expense. At least for now, you may need a new computer 6 years down the road, but when you're starting out, think about those things that are just one-time purchases. And then all the things that you're gonna have that are gonna be monthly costs, and just fill those out on this sheet. And then at the bottom, it'll update your total funds required. And you will have your spiffy little budget. And this is a very basic tool, but it's a great way to see what you might be looking at as far as costs. So it's very simple, but it's also just really great to kind of know, okay, these are my very small expected costs that I'm going to have starting out.
Where is that form located again?
So it's from the SBA's website. Let me click on it again and I'll drop the link. But I will send the slides out, so you'll get it when you get the slides. But I'm gonna drop it in the chat right now too, so you can pull that up.
And so is that called a financial plan, a startup financial plan?
It's just like your basic startup cost. So it's kind of like a mini budget.
Okay.
So it'll help you think about what you need for your financial plan. Because your financial plan is also going to include like your sales and income projections and things like that. And the library also has resources. So for example, IBIS World, Candace, that you mentioned earlier, is they have in their industry reports, they actually show 5-year projections or even further out sometimes. So that will help you kind of figure out, okay, if this industry is only expected to grow 2%, if I'm saying in my second year, I'm gonna grow by 50%, I'm gonna have to think about, is that a realistic expectation for what the growth will be? So that can kind of help you plan for what your projections will be for income and sales. Okay, so now we're gonna dig into the marketing. Can you go back? Oh, I went back too far. Okay. Now we are going to get into the marketing aspects of your business plan. So this is where the library has a ton of data. So industry profiles. There is Statista, First Research, D&B Hoovers, and Business Insights Global, and then also IBIS World. So IBIS World, I didn't put on here, I should have, but it is, we have access to it here at the Kirkwood Public Library, and it is not accessible with your library card. That is because the vendor does not want it that way. However, if you are looking for a particular industry report, I can pull it for you. If you want to come into the library, we can sit down, we can have a conversation about what industry you are looking to get into. Very quickly. There we go. All right. I can send you one of these reports or two, like if you are comparing two industries that you want to get into. So I always pull up bookstores because we're a library, we like books here. And you can kind of see they do a little executive summary themselves. They give you an idea of the amount of revenue, and these are national industry reports. So they're going to show you the US as a whole. It's not going to break it down to the St. Louis area or even the state of Missouri. We don't have access to those, but it will give you an idea of what you are looking at. It'll give you a breakdown of the products and services. This is great if you are looking at a particular industry and you're trying to expand into a new product or service. You'll be able to see like what portion of that is the most profitable and takes up, you know, the biggest chunk. You can see who the major players are and any external drivers. So this is really great for building a SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. If you are trying to figure out what opportunities and threats exist, because those are external factors that affect your business, you can come in here and see, okay, these are the things that are having negative impact, or these are the things that are having positive impact right now on a business. And I can't control them, but I can pivot and make them, you know, work for me. So if the impact of e-commerce sales is positive right now, and I don't have an online store, okay, maybe I need to think about adding that in. And what is that going to cost you? There's also these different sections. There we go. They also give different labor laws and copyright laws that may affect you. They give you financial benchmarks. So this is great when you are doing your financial planning, because you can see under some of these sections, like what you should be spending money on and how much, like what percentage of salaries and wages you should be spending money on. And you can even choose like less than 500K business, and it'll give you the percentages of like what you should be spending and what your income should be as well. And so that'll give you a good idea of like what your balance sheet should look like too, because this is kind of the average of what people are doing in the US. And so it's a really great tool to that out. It's a really great tool. These IBIS World reports are wonderful for getting a really good view of what your industry is doing. And like I said, you can reach out to me. I can download the one you're looking for and email it to you, or you can come in and we can talk about the different resources. There's also Statista, which both St. Louis County and we have here at Kirkwood. It's also a really great resource for finding information about what's happening in an industry. These are much more, so they have reports, so you can see industry and market reports. And you'll see these are actually global. So there are some US reports and then there are some from other countries. When you are searching within Statista, you can filter it. I like this because it'll actually tell you what this would cost. So this would be a $500 report, but because you have a library card, it's free. And I love that. I'm like, yes, here for it. But basically these are more statistics. So where the IBIS World Industry Report is much more a full-blown written document that has a lot of explanation behind it, the Statista reports are more of statistics in that industry that kind of explain what's happening in that industry. And any of these charts and graphs can be used. You can download the different charts and graphs. You can download the whole report, but you can include them in pitch decks. You can include these charts and graphs in your business plan. Statista allows you to use all of that. The last three industry products are First Research, DMB Hoovers, and Business Insights Global. Those are all St. Louis County library products. First Research is kind of like a IBIS World Light. They are industry reports, but they do not have all the information that IBIS World has. And there are more IBIS World reports than First Research. So a lot of times I might go to First Research first and get an overview and then see what IBIS World has as more of a supplement or kind of like a broken down. They might have subsets versus the overall arching industry that might be in First Research. If you are looking at competitive analyses, so if you are looking to see who is in your industry and who is doing what you are doing, who are they, what are they doing, what is your advantage? In Statista, you can look up large companies. So you can look at company insights, but these are kind of the global companies. These are going to be the big companies that exist. You can also use reference, well, they call it Reference Solutions now, DMB Hoovers, or Emergent Intellect. These are all St. Louis County Library resources. St. Louis Public Library has some of them too. So if anybody's in the city and has a city card, Reference Solutions, they also have. I like Reference Solutions and Emergent Intellect the best. Reference Solutions I prefer for business data. Emergent Intellect I prefer for consumer data. But they both have both business and consumer data in them. And so you can use one, you can use both, whatever your heart desires once you have your library card. All right, so I'm just going to show you really quick what you can do with the fabulous Reference Solutions. Come on. There we go. This is really a great tool for looking at when you are getting ready to maybe open a location or to just kind of get an overview of who is in your space, because not only are they going to give you a lot of data about your competitors, you can look it up on a heat map and see where they're located. So if you're looking to open a location, you can look that way too. Does anyone have a industry they want me to search for their competitors in?
Pet portraits.
What, portraits? I missed the
Yes.
first. Okay.
Pet portrait. Pet
Pet-
portrait artists.
Oh, how about pet photographers?
Yeah, that's good.
Let's see if there are portraits. Oh, they do have pet portraits. Okay. Now we'll see if there are any in St. Louis. Okay, so that's nationwide. You can also search nationwide in here. but we're gonna look at the metro area. So this is one where you can actually go down to the metro area. So the other resources we've talked about so far were national data. And there you go. We have 151 pet portrait companies. So now we can view the results. And you can kind of see who is doing pet portraits. One of the things you will notice is it says 12 with email addresses. I always like to tell people that if you click on that, it is going to give you a pop-up. And it is going to tell you that, oh yeah, you can have these email addresses, but you pay for it. Then I always tell people, don't pay for email addresses. They are not your customers, so if you start emailing them, adding them to your marketing list, things like that, they're gonna mark it as spam. And then the more they mark it as spam, then I, who am your actual customer, Gmail says, oh wait, Mel, she doesn't wanna see this because this is spam, because these other 100 people marked it as spam. So, always better to grow your email list organically, but people always ask when they see that. But you can see these 151 photographers. And if we pull up a heat map, this is where we can see where they're doing their business. And so if our map populates, okay. So we can zoom in level. Oh. Interesting. Well, usually there's a map back here. And it would show you on a map where these businesses are. I don't know if it's just being really, really slow or if they're having a bug right now, but this is really great if you were looking to open a location, because then you could say, oh, hey, right here, there's a gap, over here, there's a gap here, and you want to do a little more research and say, why is there a gap there? Is it because no one lives there? Is this national park territory and, you know, there's no houses, so that's why there's not a business there? Or does it mean that there's an opening for you to have a location and be really successful? Also working on a market, and when you are working on a market analysis, oh, I think that was gonna do that. You are looking at who is your target market? What is your market size? What is the future market size? What is your growth strategy here? How much product can you make in a year? How will you grow from year 1 to year 2? We have a ton of data for this, including Statista, which we already talked about, with this showing, you know, those projections and that growth. Demographics Now, which is both St. Louis City and St. Louis County libraries have. Emergent Intellect, you can kind of look at some of that data too, first research. But with Statista, here we go. We can look at these, where are my outlooks? Okay, let me move things. Okay. So we can look at our market insights, and this is gonna give us an idea of what the forecast will be in different markets. And why did it pull me in company data? There we go. So this is where you can see what something is doing over the next 5 years, and you can break it down. You can actually do a search as well. But you know, we're going into digital health. We can look at what the revenue projections are over time. We can look at what the market drivers are. There's a lot of really great data in here for putting together your market size and the future growth of your market and what it will be, along with, you know, what things are growing, what things aren't growing. So what's staying pretty stagnant, maybe I don't want to put all my money in that basket. I want to focus on the things that are growing. So this is going to help you build out your business plan in that aspect. When you are looking for your target market, Demographics Now is a super great tool, and it's one of my favorites. Like I said, it's at St. Louis County and also St. Louis Public Library in the city. And it is just a wealth of demographic data. So it is going to help you pull information about who your potential market is, what are they doing, what are their behaviors. And there's a little bit of that in Statista as well. So the nice thing about Demographics Now is that you can go down to a census tract and see exactly what your market looks like. Whereas with Statista, you can only go down to the state level. So if you're more interested in what St. Louis is doing, you can do that. But if you are interested kind of in Missouri in general, or more of a general look at what consumer behavior is looking like, you can look at that in Statista. So we are gonna just pull up St. Louis. And then in here, you can go to demographics and we can pull these different reports and break it down. You can actually enter more than one geography. So in here, if you're trying to decide whether you should launch your product in St. Louis or Kansas City or Chicago, you can compare those 3 different metro areas and see who is purchasing what. So they have demographics in these areas. You can also see consumer expenditure in these areas. But my favorite way to use this tool is the map. And watch, the map's not going to come up on this either. Interesting. What is going on with maps? But basically on this mapping feature, you can choose a variable. And then sometimes I do this because I have multiple library cards. If one is not playing nicely, I go to the other one. We'll see if this one does any better. Yep. For whatever reason, sometimes one doesn't work and the other one does. And this is why I have multiple library cards. So I'm never disappointed. All right, so you can come in here and you can choose a variable, and there are tons of variables in here. So you can see consumer expenditures for different products. You can see housing costs. You can see daytime population, which is great for figuring out maybe where retired people live or where kids are going to school during the day. You can see where retail demand is. So if there's an area that has a hotter zone for what your service is that you are providing. And you can put this on a heat map. So I'm gonna pretend that I am a nonprofit looking for where people give more money. So I've made my selections and then it's going to update this onto a heat map, and it's gonna show me the areas that I wanna target. The other thing I can do in here is I can do a little bit of layering. So it's gonna show me these red hotspots. And as you zoom in, the map will change, which is really awesome. Because it'll start to narrow in and really show you where those red hotspots are. But you can also create your own geographies based on where these hotspots are. So I'm just gonna do it really briefly. Grab a couple hotspots, and then I'm gonna update my geography, and it's only gonna show me information about those two hotspots that I have marked. So now I can go over to demographics, and I wanna put them together, so I'm gonna do a summary instead of a comparison. A comparison would show my hotspots side by side, and a summary is gonna show me what things they have in common. And now I can pull a demographic report and say, people in areas that give more money fall into these kind of demographics. They also have a great mosaic household chart. So these are really, really awesome. Mosaic summaries are pre-built marketing profiles, basically. And so they give them really creative, cute names like Power Elite and Flourishing Families. And you can see how much of a percentage where people give money they fall into. So if you're like, what is Young City Solos? It will then give you all the data about who Young City Solos are, and you can say, oh, I really want to target this group of people because they're giving cash money dollars to nonprofits, whatever. What's really cool is they show you their channel preference, and what that means is how they like to be marketed to. The numbers under the channel preference are index numbers. Over 100 is thumbs up, they like that thing. Under 100 is they do not want to be marketed that way. So Young City Solos actually still like TV, and they like being advertised to on TV. They also love text messaging. They want to be talked to via text message, and email is actually still fairly popular. They do not want to be marketed to via social media. They do not want to be marketed to via radio, podcast, that kind of thing. And they definitely don't want mail coming to their door. So if you are targeting this group and you haven't offered a text messaging feature of like, hey, opt in to get text messages for this deal or whatever, then you are missing the boat, because they are 191% more likely to respond to text message advertising. The second page of this is always a breakdown of who they are, more demographic information. The third page is if you forget what I said about an index number, you can come here and be like, index 100 is average, over, yay, under. And then the last page, and actually, yeah, so now they've started doing this second page. So some of them will just have one page, and some will have this additional how to market to section, but it is a write-up of who they are, how they like to be marketed to, even down to like what restaurants they like to go to, sometimes what magazines or what channels they want to be advertised on. And then you get down to this how to market. So they are cutting edge status seeking. So focus your ad spend on mobile and TV. There you go. But yeah, so this is a really great resource when you're trying to build out who your customer might be. The other thing to do in here is if you're, maybe you're coming up and you're not sure, over here on this help, you can actually just read through some of these different mosaic profiles. They're all listed right here, and you can just read through them and be like, this sounds like the person I'm trying to reach. And then on this mapping feature, one of the things you can actually select under variables is a mosaic profile. So you can then see where that particular group is and be able to target them where they are. So cool tool. Statista also has amazing consumer insights. These are really good for, what's this? No, we'll start. Why is it?
So we just gotta get in there and click around, right?
So no, usually oh, you mean in like demographics now?
Demographics, statistic, ooh,
So,
all of it. Health,
yeah, so
legal, GPS.
demographics now has so much information in there. Normally what I tell people to do is reach out to a librarian and sit down with them and figure out what data you really are looking for. I have a demographics now cheat sheet that I can be like, oh, this data is located under this kind of thing. I don't know why consumer insights is being weird. It's acting like I don't have access. Mhm. Not e-commerce insights either. Okay. So normally consumer insights allows you to layer data by kind of looking at, oh, here we go. Enter the consumer insights tool. Wow, they changed this and it is not easy to find. Okay, so now it's gonna allow us to layer the data. You can actually see I've created some target groups here. And let's say we were looking for online juice shoppers. So I can, look at that, and this is gonna pull the entire United States. I can also target in Missouri. So maybe I'm looking for juice consumers in Missouri. Then I can come up here after I've created my target market, which I already did. So we're not gonna go over how to do that. And then I can say, who are they? And I can just start building who they are. What is their background? And I can choose any of these. What is their income? What is their living situation? Which we already put Missouri, so we don't need to put that. But there's all kinds of data that we can look into, and we can say, well, juice consumers in Missouri are 67% female. And so this is another way you can start to build your avatar. And again, yes, this would be like, okay, I need to click around and figure it out. But this is where, again, you can reach out to your librarian and say, let's sit down and figure out exactly who it is. And you can show me how to build this. And then we can put that together. Because they take some getting used to. And I use them every day. So it's different for me. It's going to be a lot faster for me to help you build that out than you getting frustrated and spending an hour on it when you could have sat down with me for an hour and we could have built it out together. So just keep that in mind. Mergent Intellect is one that I mentioned previously that I prefer for consumer data. Why I like Mergent Intellect is basically because you can build a mailing list. So if you are looking to do a direct mail piece, you can actually pull a list of people who fall under certain behaviors in Mergent Intellect, and you never have to pay for a mailing list ever again. So stop paying for mailing lists because your library card gets you it for free. Basically, what this allows you to do is select a location, and I always, on purpose, do not choose St. Louis. I always choose Albuquerque, hoping no one knows anyone in Albuquerque. And then in here, you can select different lifestyles. So let's say we were looking for dog owners, and it was like a high-end dog owner. So we want them to be homeowners. And then we can do their estimated income, and we want it to be 125K or more because I'm selling very high dog stuff. So I'm gonna add that to the criteria. And add that, and it's gonna show me that this is gonna pull a list of 6,800 people. So I can go over here. And here we go. Here is my mailing list of 6,800 dog owner people that are homeowners and are higher income. And then I can take that list with me and download it and send that to whatever mail house I'm using and go from there. Now, this is the limit in a single download is 2,000 records. So what you would do then is if you're pulling, 6,800 names, is you can pull a range. So you would pull 1 through 2,000 first, and then you would pull 2001 to 4,000. You just pull it in 3 batches and get it done. But if you had a smaller mailing list, because you were just going to do like a trial or something in 1 zip code, then you could pull your names that way too. All right, and then pricing strategy. You're also gonna have pricing, a policy, a price list. A lot of people ask me if we have a really good tool for this, and I do not. So when you are trying to, like, if you are selling a service and you're trying to figure out what is a good price for that, a lot of the time you can check your competitors, see what they're pricing their products at. You can usually find at least 1 or 2 really good ones who have pricing available on their website. But there isn't like a good tool that we have that shows what people in your industry in a certain place are pricing their costs at. And then market penetration. How will you distribute the product? Will you work with distributors? Who are they? Will you hire a sales team? Maybe you are not good at sales and you need to hire people. How will you market the product? So that's where Demographics Now comes in. You can say, oh, I know I'm going to market text messaging. And then what is the cost of any market additions? Reference USA, again, can help you figure out if you are looking for somebody who will, manufacture your games for you and you need to work with that distributor, you can find someone in Reference USA. And then a really great tool that I have on here for creating marketing products is Canva. If you haven't looked at Canva yet, it is a freemium tools, which means it's free, but there are premium aspects to it. So there may be certain templates that are not free or images that are not free, but in general, it is a free product, and I've never come across a template that I couldn't find a free version that I didn't want to use instead of a paid one. And then with the images, you can use your own images. You don't have to use theirs. And there's a lot of really great royalty-free websites like Unsplash or Pixabay, where you can use the images from there and use them in some of your materials. And you can just upload those into Canva instead of paying for their products. This Canva is a really great tool for social media posts as well. So there's a lot of ways you can use it. And then the last segment of the business plan is the financials. So we talked about the startup costs with that SBA worksheet, your sales projections. What will you make in the next 3 years, 5 years? This is where Statista and First Research and IBIS World come in with those projections of what's happening in the industry. Cash projections, how much cash will you need to start up and grow? This is where that business link, do I still have it up? Yeah, I don't, I think I closed it, but the business link, business plan builder, it will help you fill that out. It's gonna prompt you and it's gonna show you examples of how you would wanna fill out your cash projections. And then, what are your sources of financing? I'm talking too much. How will you finance this? Are you gonna look for grants? Is it a nonprofit? Are you gonna talk to the SBA lender match program? So Small Business Administration, we talked about them. They do a lender match program. Why is this great? Well, it kind of takes a little bit of the legwork out for you. So instead of you calling around to a million different banks to see who will offer you the best deal, you can go to the SBA's website and enter information in about your business and about what size loan you want, and they will kick back to you the different banks that you may want to, or the different vendors that you may want to call on. And then Missouri SourceLink is a really great resource we have here in the great state of Missouri. So it is a free, they have what's this resource navigator that is totally free. And you can come in here and you can say, I'm looking for area of assistance, financial resources. And we can filter, and then it'll show you who in Missouri is offering financial resources assistance. And you can even narrow it to your zip code and a distance if you just want to see St. Louis. But this is going to show you some venture capitalists, some banks, some grants for small businesses. So it's a really great resource that I think a lot of people sleep on or don't know is available here in Missouri. And then the last note I have on here under sources of funding is crowdfunding. So maybe you're not ready to do a loan. Maybe you haven't been able to find grants that are good. Maybe you're a for-profit and you haven't been able to find a lot of grants for small businesses because they are highly competitive and very small. So anyone who tells you that, oh, small business, just get a grant, that is not a thing. Please don't listen to them. It's very difficult. But crowdfunding is becoming a lot more popular. There are organizations like Kiva, which is kind of a loan / crowdfunding, or GoFundMe or Kickstarter, where people are totally crowdfunding money to get their business or their product off the ground. My favorite example of the crowdfunding is, if anyone knows Steve's Hot Dogs here in St. Louis. Okay, so when he wanted to open his second location, so originally he was in the Hill, and when he wanted to open a second location, he actually crowdfunded that. And he did a Kickstarter campaign and raised the money to open his second location. And so I love that example because I'm like, that is, there you go. You've already proven that you have this one location, and now you're like, hey, I want to open a second location, but I don't have the startup cash to do it. Instead of going the loan route, digging myself into a hole, I'm just going to see who will give money to this.
Why not?
Why not? Yeah, so don't sleep on crowdfunding. Okay, other business library resources while you're starting out. So if you need something like patents or trademarks for a product or service that you are building, providing, whatever, St. Louis Public Library downtown is one of 2 patent and trademark resource centers in the state of Missouri. The other one is all the way over on the Kansas City side of the state. So if you need help researching patents and trademarks, Eleanor is the librarian down there. She's absolutely fabulous, and she will help you figure out if patents already exist, what trademarks are already out there, and she'll help you kind of navigate that system. If you are looking for grants for a nonprofit specifically, there is a product called Foundation Directory by Candid. We have access here. St. Louis County Library has it at some of their branches. And then St. Louis Public Library only has it at their headquarters branch. This is one of the Foundation Directory Candid grant searching tool is one that you have to be in library to use. You cannot access it with your library card like all of these other resources that we went over today. So you do have to be inside of a library to search for the grants. And then there's also non-book related items for checkout with your library card. So for example, here at Kirkwood Public Library, you can check out Wi-Fi hotspots. You can check out a tent. So if you are a vendor and you're going to be at an event and you're like, oh man, my tent broke and I don't have a tent, come on over to the library and check one out with your library card. We also have printers and scanners that you can check out and take home with you. So come tax season time and you're trying to scan in all those documents, come to the library, check out a scanner, take it home with you. We also have a projector and screen. So if you are looking to do a presentation and your venue doesn't have everything you need, like a projector or a screen, you can check those out with your library card. So just keep that in mind that we have a lot of items that are not books that you can actually just check out for free with your library card. Okay, so if you need additional help, this is my contact information. Please reach out, make an appointment. We can go through some of that marketing data and how to pull it specifically for your business or what you want to look at. And then these are additional programs that we have coming up. In March, the SBDC will be back and we are going to do the final of a 3 series called Plan to Execute. We're going to talk about marketing and getting your message out there, pitch decks, that kind of thing. You do not have to come to the first 2 sessions in order to come to the 3rd session. So it should be really great. And then on April 4th, we are going to talk about saving secrets for retirement and college. These are things that small businesses still need to think about because, you know, you still have life happening around you. April 10th, we're going to talk about demystifying small business financial statements with the SBDC. And on April 16th, if you are a nonprofit, we're going to go over funding. So I'm going to talk about Candid and how to use that search tool, other ways to fund your nonprofit. What kind of questions does everybody have? And I know I went a little over the time. I apologize.
That March the 13th at 1 p.m., would that be similar to what you're doing right now? Would that be totally different?
It is different.
Okay.
Yeah. My presentation is just about library resources and where to find them. Colleen is going to talk about like actually getting your plan to market and pitching and doing those kinds of steps.
Okay. So we have to sign up for that through SBDC? Or could
You
we
know, you can go to our website or the SBDC website. Either way, doesn't
Okay.
matter.
Thank you. That was a lot of stuff.
No, it is a lot. I always feel like it's information overload. Oh, you're welcome, Crystal. But yes, please reach out, make an appointment with me. If you are to that point that you want to know really how to use any of these tools.
Thank you. This was so informational.
Awesome. Thanks for coming.
Yep.
Cool. Well, if nobody has any questions, enjoy the rest of your evening.
You
Thanks.
too.
Good one. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
See you later.